I was raised in a family that earned an average income. My mom and dad had good jobs, but with 4 of us to take care of, my parents, 4 siblings, and myself, we encountered some difficulties. Wearing secondhand clothes and eating affordable meals was a normal part of our daily life. Interestingly, we had a house, courtesy of my grandmother passing it on to my dad. Our neighborhood was pleasant, with families spanning from middle to high income. The house beside ours remained vacant for years until a new family arrived. Their son, who was my age, became the only other kid in the neighborhood like me. Even though Benjamin and I didn't go to the same school, he was homeschooled. Our families arranged for us to spend time together. We became best friends. While Benjamin continued his homeschooling journey, I, being a public school attendee, shared tips on socializing with peers. Benjamin's dad, Henry, found my advice helpful. Eventually, Henry acknowledged the importance of a well-rounded education for Benjamin, especially for the family business. As Benjamin started thriving with our friendship, Henry appreciated the positive transformation and realized the benefits of a more diverse learning experience. He used to express his gratitude in different ways. Henry, a man who didn't talk much, never said a direct thank you. Instead, he would send me home with lots of food for my whole family and give small presents to me and my siblings on our birthdays or other special occasions. Despite Henry being thankful, Emily, Benjamin's mother, wasn't happy. She didn't like how nicely Henry treated me, thinking it was tough on their son and too generous to the neighbor's kid. She showed her disapproval with sarcastic comments and tried to stop Henry from giving me things. Despite her attempts, Henry ignored her and sometimes gave me even more things, almost as if to spite her. Apart from the way Henry treated me, Emily had more troubles with her husband. Their frequent arguments and loud disagreements had an impact on Benjamin, making him become more reserved. After many attempts to comfort him, I earned Benjamin's trust. We grew closer, and as time passed, I started having romantic feelings for him. Despite that, I never acted on those emotions. There was only one time when Benjamin didn't open up to me. When he was 15, he visited my house looking upset after a disagreement with his mother. He looked troubled, moving anxiously in my room. I asked, "Benjamin, what's going on? You seem really upset. You know you can talk to me, right?" "I know, but there's something I'm not sure I can share with you," he replied. "You don't have to spill everything, but if you feel okay, tell me a bit. Talking about what's bothering you can help." "It's about my mom. We had a big fight. I couldn't handle how she treated my dad anymore, and I snapped at her. She said something really hurtful, and that's why I'm so upset." "I'm sorry to hear that. Do you feel comfortable sharing what she said?" "It's painful, and I'd rather not discuss it. Families can be tricky, but they're still your own. Try not to let anger damage your connections with them. Give yourself time to understand your emotions. Appreciate your support, Kathleen. You're great at comforting me." At that time, I thought it was best for Benjamin to stick with his family, thinking they only had his best interests at heart, despite their quirks. I had no idea about the actual truth. If I had known, I would never have advised Benjamin to forgive and stay with his parents, especially his mom. Over time, Benjamin and I finished high school and headed to the same college. While Benjamin took online classes, I went to the campus. I had a job since I was 15, so I managed to save up and rent an apartment. With some assistance from Henry, I moved out and got my own place for college. Benjamin and I spent more time together without our parents around. Eventually, we both admitted to having strong feelings for each other. After a bit of an awkward confession, we officially became a couple. My parents were super happy, but Benjamin's parents had different feelings. Henry gave us a calm congrats, while Emily showed she wasn't thrilled with a grunt. We decided not to dwell on his mom's reaction. After college, Benjamin popped the question, and in less than a 2-year, we tied the knot. Back then, I felt like I had everything. My childhood buddy was now my hubby, always there for me. I loved him with all my heart. After we got married, Benjamin started traveling more for work. Worried about me being alone, he suggested I move in with his parents. I was unsure, but Benjamin did his best to persuade me. "I'm not sure about living with your parents. Your mom and I don't really click. But imagine this. We'd get our own place, a whole floor just for us, with our own kitchen. I just want you to be safe, and being close to my family would ease my worries. It's kind of like having our own space, but with the option for them to visit or for me to visit them. Please, consider it. It might be an opportunity for you and my mom to connect better. I think it could make things better between you 3. Okay, if it's important to you, I'll give it a go. I just hope it doesn't cause any issues between us." "Thanks, dear. I'll do my best to make things go smoothly." I agreed to his request because I wanted him to feel better when he couldn't be with me. Having some personal space also made me feel good, and if anything happened, my parents lived nearby. However, after moving in with his parents, I realized Benjamin hadn't been completely honest. It turned out I wouldn't be alone in the house with his parents, but specifically with his mother, Emily. Whenever Benjamin had a work trip, he followed his dad's orders, and I ended up stuck sharing a home with a woman who didn't like me much. Luckily, Emily's hostility mostly came in the form of occasional rude comments. The worst part was when she intentionally didn't prepare any food for me after asking about my preferences. Usually tired from work, I'd either whip up a quick meal or order takeout. As long as I stayed in my room, things remained uneventful. However, everything changed one day when Benjamin requested me to go through his office to find and scan a specific file for him. I had to rummage through Benjamin's cluttered drawers to locate a document. As I searched, one drawer caught my attention because it seemed a bit strange. When I touched it, I realized it was emptier than the rest, and there was a hidden compartment at the bottom. Even though I knew it was not right to pry, my curiosity got the better of me. I opened it and discovered a file that piqued my interest, making me wonder why Benjamin had concealed it. Worried that Emily might snoop around, I carefully shut and lightly secured the door. As I opened the folder, I found a paper about Benjamin and Henry's paternity test, showing that Henry wasn't Benjamin's dad. Surprised, I couldn't believe Benjamin had hidden such a big secret. I wondered if Henry was aware. Before my mind went too far, I chose to return the file and share the needed scans with Benjamin. My instincts urged me to snap a photo of the test first. After tidying up, I located the document Benjamin needed and sent him the scanned copies. Back in my room, I tried to avoid thinking too much about the new details. I wished to talk to Benjamin face-to-face when suddenly there was a knock on my door. Emily walked in looking upset and accused me of finding out their hidden truth. I confessed, and she disclosed that Henry was oblivious, emphasizing his focus on having a successor. Emily defended her actions, asserting that Benjamin was also involved in the deception, having gotten used to their way of life. And he just won't give it up, convinced it's all wrong. What if I spill the beans to Henry? Oh, come on. Do you really believe someone like you could wreck our little make-believe world? I'd just make Henry think you're making up stories to stir up trouble. He'd pick us over you anytime. Your scheme won't last. Keep dreaming. I never really liked you, Kathleen. I've been trying to steer Benjamin away from you for ages. This is the perfect excuse for him to find someone in his social circle. You won't get away with this forever. The truth always comes out. That's just how it goes. Oh, please, spare your fairy tales for someone who gives a hoot. Good luck with that, though. If you're wise, you won't mess with it. She left the room, and my heart raced. All the questions I had for Benjamin were already answered by Emily. I felt upset with both of them. Emily never hid her dislike for me, but I never expected her to betray me like this. The most disappointing part was Benjamin's betrayal. How could he deceive the person who raised him? How long had he been aware of this? Did he feel any guilt? I also wondered if he would go along with Emily's plan to abandon me. That night, I struggled to sleep as my thoughts consumed me. The following day felt like a blur. Henry came back from his work trip, and I couldn't meet his gaze because of the guilt gnawing at me. I wished to confess everything, but I feared Emily would twist things and paint me as the villain. That evening, Henry suggested we have dinner as a trio. I quietly ate my food, responding only when he inquired about work. During dinner, Emily shared with Henry her desire to take a vacation with Benjamin. Henry, I really miss Benjamin, and I think it would be wonderful for us to enjoy a 6-week trip to Hawaii together. Benjamin has been putting in a lot of effort at work, so he definitely deserves a break, don't you think? But doesn't Benjamin have many work commitments? I'm not an expert, but won't the business be impacted by his absence? Henry ran the business for years before Benjamin came on board. A brief break shouldn't be a problem. You're right, and Benjamin could use a break. Okay, go ahead, and I'll take care of things here. Thanks. Kathleen, why not join them? Oh, that won't work. It's meant to be a special time for moms and their sons to connect. Plus, it might feel awkward like being an extra person. What do you think, Kathleen? Want to join them? Oh, she likely has her own plans. Don't stress about it. Let's let Kathleen decide. Now I understand why Emily wanted to go on this trip. I was going to mention feeling uneasy, but then I got a sudden kick to my shin. I felt a sharp pain and saw Emily had kicked me under the table. When I looked at her, she gave me a serious look. I wanted to say something, but I knew it wouldn't help. Feeling stuck, I had a clever idea. I could talk to Henry when they were not around. So I stayed quiet, nodded, and pretended I was fine with the trip. Emily seemed happy, and Henry gave her permission to leave. That evening, I gave Benjamin a call to discuss the upcoming trip. Are you joining your mom on the trip? I asked. Yeah, I don't really have a choice, he replied. That's not true. You do have a choice. You can decide not to go along with her plans. Things are quite messed up, and honestly, some of it is because of your actions. Confused, I inquired, what do you mean? How is any of this my fault? Benjamin clarified, if you had respected my privacy earlier, none of this would have happened. There's a hidden lesson I didn't share with you. Around 5 years ago, during a major argument with my mom, she disclosed that I'm not actually Henry's son. I thought about telling Henry, and I even hinted at it to my mom. However, she just brushed it off, warning that it might result in us getting kicked out of our place. So we're stuck keeping this secret. Now that you're aware, I can't keep you in my life anymore. He ended the call, leaving me in shock. I couldn't believe that the person I cared for could be so heartless. Was this always a part of him, or did he change because of greed? I cried myself to sleep, struggling to grasp how our 5 years of friendship and love had turned into something so awful. How could he easily let me go? I thought he was super important to me, like the best ever, but turns out I was just a replaceable buddy for him. The next day, all fired up for payback, I caught Benjamin quietly getting ready for a trip with Emily, ready to take off later. Even though I was sad, I knew I had to take the high road. Henry went on a quick business trip for the next 5 days, so I had to hold off on my plan until he came back. Once Benjamin and Emily left, I kept busy by checking out their stuff. Unfortunately, the hidden part in Benjamin's drawer had nothing in it, and the file was gone. It looked like Emily had gotten rid of it. But no big deal, I had a picture of it. While waiting patiently, I collected proof of what Benjamin and Emily were up to. I found Benjamin's secret Instagram account where he shared stories about going out with several women and expressing gratitude to his mom for introducing him to these amazing ladies. Despite feeling hurt and upset, I took screenshots of each story. Armed with proof, I phoned Henry, telling him there was a pressing matter and asking him to rush home. Just as he promised, he showed up by 8 p.m., worried and wondering if everything was all right. I confessed that things were not going well and spilled the beans about the actual purpose of Benjamin and Emily's journey, to help Benjamin find a new wife. Henry couldn't believe what he saw in the screenshots. He looked at me with a mix of surprise and doubt, wondering if I was serious. As he processed the images, his surprise turned into anger and disgust. He stuttered, demanding an explanation for why anyone would do such a thing. I urged him to sit down, emphasizing the importance of what I was about to reveal. With a printed copy of the picture, I presented the evidence to Henry. He sat quietly, taking in the shocking revelation before him. I hesitated before telling him all the things I found out. Henry's went from being upset to being really mad. Without saying anything, he quickly called his banks to stop his credit cards. Since Emily and Benjamin depended on those cards for their trips, he also canceled Benjamin's work card, leaving them with no money. After dealing with this, Henry felt a bit less angry. I said sorry for dropping everything on him at once and shared my regret. He told me not to worry, saying he never thought Emily would do something like that. He was just glad he found out while he still had control of the business. Worried that Emily and Benjamin might come back, Henry chose to end his marriage with Emily and asked both of them to leave the house. I supported the decision and suggested filing for divorce from Benjamin as well. However, Henry insisted that I remain, expressing his wish to pass down the business to me as if I were his daughter. Despite feeling sad and angry in the following days, we proceeded with the divorce, ignoring attempts from Emily and Benjamin to get in touch. Henry obtained restraining orders against them. When Benjamin eventually contacted me, he accused me of disclosing everything to Henry, but I denied it, assuring him that I had proof. Benjamin couldn't believe I had proof and called me heartless. In the weeks that came after, Henry and I finalized our divorce, gathered Benjamin and Emily's stuff, and gave them 2 months to pick it up from storage. I left my job to join forces with Henry, aiming to leave the past behind. Despite the difficulties, we found comfort in each other. Finally, I opened up about my experience, urging everyone to always choose the right path, no matter what hurdles they face, because you never know how life might repay you.